How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 2. So, we were talking with Shion, and all of a sudden, Ueshi-san decided to kind of just show up. I wasn't really expecting that, but at the same time, I guess it's not too surprising, if that makes any bit of sense. Regardless, he's here, and I feel like now we're going to start getting some information, especially now that the festival is done, and we were asked by Mion if we had seen that couple, and I'm pretty sure that couple has yet again died, or at least Tomitake-san has died, and Takano is just gone, just like in Chapter 1. It's starting to seem like that because, I mean, Shion's alive, so there goes my prediction of her maybe being demoned away. So things sort of may be going in the same direction. It's just now, how do we learn about all this?
Konnichiwa. 今日はデートですかな?
Yes.
羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないで欲しかったですね。
Yes.
大石さん。
That was it. He was Ueshi-san, a police officer. I thought it was this person who came to my rescue when I got involved with those delinquents before. Now that I thought about it, Mion didn't seem to like him very much.
いえいえ、すみません。知ってる声が聞こえてきたのでついつい。
Ueshi-san laughed coarsely, not showing any sign of giving up. As Shion watched him do so, I didn't feel the same sense of malice from her as I had from Mion.
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
Now hold on, that may be true.
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
I turned around to look at Shion and plead for help, but she grinned and maintained her silence, the old smug look that she always gives. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, it's like every episode. Her gaze wandered. She looked at the clock.
あ、ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私、もうバイトの時間なんです。
そうなのか?
Wait, didn't Shion have something to talk about today? Now this weird man is here, though.
また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ、今夜電話しますので、その時に。じゃあ。
Shion left so fast that she was practically running. Ueshi-san was waving at me with a grin. I felt like I'd been left here as bait so she could get away. Maybe she was lying about having to go to work.
園崎のご令嬢とこれだけ親しくできるなんて、私も口の利き方を改めた方がいいかもしれません。
Ueshi-san put a coin into a vending machine as he said something a bit appalling. Yeah, honestly.
でいいですか? ミルクは入れます?
いえ。
じゃあ入れますよ。はい、どうぞ。
He handed me a cup of tea filled to the brim with ice, as I looked on absent-mindedly. I don't think I'm obligated to have a guy like this buy me a drink, but he did get it for me, so I'll thank him. Was Ueshi-san just killing time? We didn't know each other well, but he still engaged me in conversation about all sorts of dumb things. When I thought back to how I talked with Shion, this seemed like a total disaster.
前原さんは園崎さんのことをどれくらいご存知で?
Oh, here we go. The thing is that I completely understand why Ueshi-san approached us in Chapter 1. You know, we were hanging out with the guy that got killed that night. Obviously, he's going to want to talk with somebody, at least somebody that, you know, is a little bit from the outside, or absolutely from the outside, about what had happened. And, you know, there came our information dump.
さっき聞いた以上のことは何も。
Until then, I hadn't known anything about either Mion or Shion, other than the fact that they were interesting. I really did only just learn that she was the daughter of some prestigious family.
園崎家はこの地域一帯を牛耳ってる。ちなみに彼女のお父さんは関東でも有名な暴力団グループの大幹部さんです。ご存知でした？
大幹部って。
シオンさんの自宅をご存知ないんですか？ 高い塀に有刺鉄線と監視カメラで守られた典型的な暴力団の組長宅ですよ。今度ぜひ遊びに行ってみてください。
She'd mentioned Mion being a successor, but to a crime syndicate?
いえ、まさかまさか。園崎ミオンさんが継ぐのはそんなちんけな暴力団組織だけじゃありません。
Oh, the only thing, huh?
彼女が継ぐのは園崎家そのものですよ。そのあたりの意味、ちょっと噛み締めていただけますかな。
You know what? I just noticed. God damn it. I did this last time too. I left my fan on. I need to stop doing that because, well, I don't think it's going to get really picked up by my microphone. It's still there. You know, it's still on. Damn, I'm stupid when it comes to setting up for these recording sessions. Ah, summer. Ueshi-san had spoken lightly about all this from start to finish, but what he was saying wasn't light in the least. It was abrupt and unbelievable.
ミオンさんがその気になれば、往来の真ん中で人殺しをしたってもみ消せちゃうかもしれないんですよ。
Oh, based on the events of Chapter 1, I believe it.
証人は現れないだろうし、警察にだって圧力をかけられますし。
Nah, but I guess that's more directed towards Rena.
ミオンは人殺しなんかしないぞ。
しません、ものの例えですよ。
大石さんでしたっけ、名前。
ねえ、そうです。
大石さん、ミオンの家が何だろうと、ミオンは俺の誇れる最高の友人です。それをあまりけなすような言い方は好きになれないですね。
Even if it is true. I let my quiet anger show through in my gaze as I stared at him. Of course, I could never seem to tell what he's thinking, so I didn't know if it had any effect.
ではざっくばらんに、そのミオンさんにいくつかの事件の嫌疑がかかっているとしたらどう思います？
Oh shit, now you're gonna really pull his chain here. Suspected? Incidents? You can't just say terrible stuff like that on a whim.
何かの誤解に決まってるじゃないですか。ミオンは物騒なことを言うやつだけど、そんな悪いことをするようなやつじゃない。
前原さん、お静かに。ここ、図書館ですから。
Ueshi-san shushed me, but in a state of heightened excitement as I was, I wouldn't be calmed so easily.
落ち着いてください。さっきも申し上げました通り、園崎家はいい意味でも悪い意味でもこの辺り一帯で強い力を持っているんです。ですからちょっと何かあるとすぐに疑いがかかってしまう。その辺りをご理解いただきたいのですよ。
Well, I know what Ueshi-san is trying to say. Combining it with what Shion told me before, the Sonozaki family is huge, and controls everything from Hinamizawa to Okonomiya. Mion, meanwhile, is its successor, who apparently holds strong influence over the entire family. Still, that's all. That's the only reason that they're suspecting her.
ですから、私だって仕事で仕方なくやってるんです。ミオンさんを疑うためでなく、ミオンさんの疑いを晴らすために捜査をしている。そうお考えいただきたいのです。
He could talk a dog out of a meat truck. He was the definition of a shrewd, unfair adult. At this point, I began to think that it was no coincidence that I had met him.
大石さん、ひょっとして俺に言おうなんですか？
ねえ、そうですよ。前原圭一さん。
He answered in an absent tone of voice.
何かの事件でミオンを疑っていて、その友人の俺に何か聞きに来た。そういうことですか？
いえ、違います。私は園崎ミオンさんの友人と話をしに来たのではなく、前原圭一さんに話をしに来たのです。
But why?
ご自宅にお伺いしたらご迷惑でしたでしょうからね。
俺に警察が何の用だって言うんですか
？Having realized this faked coincidental meeting had me as its target, my mood immediately turned foul.
そんなに構えなくて大丈夫ですよ。
Who wouldn't be tense? A police officer is wanting to talk with someone. Like, on purpose.
肩を楽にして、ちょっと質問に答えてくださるだけでいいんです。
それって職務質問ってやつですか？
偶然知り合ったおじさんとの世間話ってことにしましょう。
Ushi-san freely suggested that I relax. That said, behind his eyes was a light, which I can only see sometimes, that was sharp as a hawk. If I tried to feign to run away, he might actually take me in and bring me to an interrogation room or something. That was an undoubtedly unpleasant thought, excuse
ゆう
me.
べは渡流しのお祭り、盛大で楽しかったですね。
I mean, we tried.
はぐらかさないでください。今さら世間話なんかされても。
昨日の渡流しの晩、
Oh no.
富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
Gulp. I could plainly feel myself give a start.
あれ、写真はどこに行っちゃったかな？ああ、あったあった。
He opened a small notebook and removed 2 photographs. I didn't have to look.
さあ、どうでしょう。あったような、合わなかったような。
I was asked the same question for the second time today. I gave the same answer for the second time, too.
あれ？記憶が曖昧ですか？まさかアルコールが入っててよく覚えてないなんてのはなしにしてくださいよ。
It wasn't us that was drinking. Here, too, I got the same answer as I had from Mion. I realized he wasn't taking my vague reply well. Why is he asking me the same thing Mion did? The dark feelings I had nearly forgotten due to my conversation with Shion came rushing back in a hurry. We snuck into the sacred ritual storehouse, a punishable act. It was on a tiny impulse. While it may not count for much now, I do feel sorry about it.
もう一度お聞きしますよ。
Oh shit, his smile is gone. That means things are serious now.
ゆうべのお祭りで富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
His tone was soft, but there was a dreadfulness in his voice, clearly different from the first time he asked. I'm scared. That was exactly how I felt.
繰り返し聞かれても、答えはさっきと同じです。
I don't really remember. There wasn't any better answer I could give him. You could literally just say no. I didn't have the balls to say I didn't see them, nor the courage to admit I had.
そうですか。改めて聞けば、さっきとは違う答えが返ってくるかなと思いましてね。
We were told the same exact thing. Yeah, what the fuck? We were told the same shit from Mion. She asked last night if we saw Shion, and then today she asked the same shit, wondering if we'd get a different response. Why do people do that? I'm too scared to look Ueshi-san in the eyes.
では、質問を変えます。ほら、前原さん、リラックス、リラックス。
Ueshi-san grabbed my shoulders and squeezed them as if trying to give me a massage. It mostly just hurt, though. Still, why would he ask the same things as Mion? If he's asking the same things, then the next question must be Shion. Right?
同じく夕べのお祭りなんですが、園崎しおんさんにお会いしませんでしたか？
Damn, I'm so good at this video game. Ha ha ha. I wonder what that sound was. And when I looked down, I saw that it was the unmelted ice in the cup I was gripping in my hands. My hands were trembling, rocking the ice back and forth. Realizing that, I hastily put the remaining ice in my mouth and crunched down on it.
すみません。あったかもしれないですけど、ほら、ミオにもそっくりですから。
I mean, here we can literally state that yes, we saw her because she came over to our group and was harassing Mio, you know, playfully and all, and we could have just left it at that.
ミオンと見間違えてるかも。
そんなわけはないでしょう。
Oh shit. Suddenly, Ushi-san grabbed both my shoulders and hunched down to give me a level stare. This must be what it's like to be a deer in the headlights. I want to look away, but I can't. This is the first time I've experienced such a piercing stare.
ミオンさんもシオンさんも服装は全然違うんですから、そう簡単に見間違えるはずはありませんよ。前原さん。
His voice was harsh. Harsh, the same as when Mion said it. I could feel my heartbeat quickening. When I realized he could feel it through the hands on my shoulders, I got even more scared. Why? Why are Mion and Oishi-san both asking about last night? Was sneaking into that storehouse so bad? I shouldn't have let Takano-san talk me into it. Yeah, we are too impressionable and stupid and curious of a young lad. Tomatake-san casually said to check it out, too, so... Even Shion, if she hadn't encouraged me... No, I understood. I was the one most at fault here. I shouldn't have let my curiosity get the better of me. I shouldn't have gone into the forbidden storehouse. We really shouldn't have, you know? Oh, shit. A young man wearing a suit came into the lounge. From the way he held himself, I knew immediately that he was Ueshi-san's subordinate.
あれは本当だ。もう閉館なんですね。
I hadn't realized it until he said something. The jingle and announcement telling patrons the library had closed had started playing without me realizing it. I was so irritated, so overwhelmed, that I couldn't even hear it.
じゃあ前原君、もうこんな時間なんで私たちは失礼させてもらいます。
Yeah, please do.
このお話はもっと時間のある時にのんびりといたしましょう。
This isn't a joke. If I never saw him again, it would be too soon. Ueshi-san followed his subordinate and left the lounge behind him. However, he spun back around.
そうそう前原さん。
何ですか？
さっきさせてもらった2つの質問ですが、どちらの回答もよく覚えてないでしたよね。
はい。
参考までに。あなた、昨日全員にお会いしてますよ。4人で楽しそうに歩いてたじゃないですか。
Oh no.
石段のところで。私がこの目で見てますから。
I caught my breath, and my heart seemed like it was about to stop. What a detestable person. He knew, and he was testing me.
ではまたお会いしましょう。良いお年を。
I sat there like a rock, unmoving, until I could no longer hear the clacking sounds of their footsteps. I mean, Keiichi's kind of just digging his own fucking hole here. I mean, I don't really know what I would do in his shoes, but he's not making it any better on himself. God damn. I was on my way back home. The cries of the Higurashi accentuated the already lonely evening. More time had passed than I thought. The orange of the dusky sky was being chased down little by an indigo color approaching from the east. Exhausted from the slow climb towards Hinamizawa, without even noticing, I'd gotten off my bicycle, and was pushing it uphill. Why is there just a car there? I don't understand any of this. No one had told me to my face that I'd done something wrong. No, in fact, it might have been much easier on me that way. What happened yesterday really was just my curiosity. It really was no more than a quiet prank. No more than having the courage to cross at a red light as long as you did it with other people. The storehouse for ritual implements. Hollowed ground only accessible to the family of the priest. For sure, I'd seen terrifying things that I'd never imagined would be there. Thinking on it now, though, it didn't matter what was stored away inside. It didn't make the wrong I had committed any more right. What the four of us did, Mion seemed to know about it. For some reason, even the police were trying to learn what the four of us did. Did we do something so bad? Really? It doesn't matter how wrong it was. I did something wrong. It was nothing more than that, and yet, I couldn't accept it. I didn't apologize to Mion or Ueshi-san. All I did was shield myself with ambiguities. I did something wrong yesterday. I set foot into a forbidden storehouse for a little bit of mischief. I'll forget everything I saw in there. I won't ever do something like that ever again. I'm sorry. If I apologize like that, would they forgive me? The suddenly cool evening air left no room for such sentiment, however, as it mercilessly chilled my feet, urging me to head home as soon as possible. In the end, the evening air was correct. If I trudged along such an isolated road, regrets would pile on top of regrets, but nothing would change. Let's go home. I'll go home, go to my room, put on my favorite music or something, and go to bed. That might sound plain and boring, but it's probably the strongest I've felt all day. Now that I've made a decision, there's no point in dawdling in a place like this. I sat back on my bike. I pushed hard on the pedals. I rapidly advanced forward. I steadily gained speed. The wind was cutting and mercilessly cold, but it actually felt good, as if it were softly punishing me, excuse me. And now we're home. I didn't eat much dinner before excusing myself early and returning to my bedroom. My mom called me from downstairs. Well, that doesn't narrow it down. Sonozaki? Was it Mion? No, it was Shion. I just remembered. And she'd had something she wanted to tell me today. Ueshi-san had interrupted us, so she didn't get the chance. Shion had said that she'd called tonight.
もしもし、シオンか。
どうも、今日は災難でしたね。
She said it so plainly that I got a bit annoyed, yeah, honestly. She was the one who left me there and ran.
そんなこと言わないでください。私、ケイちゃんに一緒に逃げようってサインを送ったじゃないですか。なのにケイちゃん、ボサーっと残っちゃって。
ボサってことはないだろう。シオンがあっという間に置いてきぼりにしたんで、あなたと俺は大石のおっさんにたっぷり付き合わされたんだぜ。
そんなの、私に愚痴られても困ります。
I can't believe she passed it off like that. She looks just like Mion, and yet inside she's this different. I got a little irritated at myself when I realized I was, somewhere in my mind, hoping for the same reaction I would get from Mion, even though she's a different person.
ああ、悪かったよ。次からはシオンを置いてくぐらいのつもりで、真っ先に逃げ出すようにする。
できればレディーファーストでお願いします。
Shion laughed refreshingly. When I heard her voice, I realized that she wasn't really that angry or anything. It was just as she said. The cause of my temper was because it was my own fault for not leaving immediately. I'll stop blaming it on others. Blaming it on others would be...
それより、俺に何か話があるんだろ？
はい。もしも、もう知ってるなら、改めて言うような話じゃないんです。知ってますか？
Nope, but I mean, Keiichi doesn't know, but I know. Shion lowered her voice suddenly as if she were glancing around. I had no idea what I could already know.
悪いけど、何のことかさっぱりわからないぞ。ヒントくらい出せ。
ってことは、知らないみたいですね。
She seemed to take my stupid sounding question as evidence. However, her voice didn't sound disappointed or exasperated in the slightest.
実は、昨日の渡流しのお祭りの晩なんですけど。
My entire body jolted as I was assailed by a terrible feeling. Is Shion going to ask the same thing?
もしもし、ケイちゃん、聞いてます？
ああ、聞いてる。昨日の晩どうしたんだよ。
私たち4人、入ったじゃないですか。
She didn't beat around the bush. Whether or not I wanted to admit it, that was the actual honest truth, and I couldn't act like it didn't happen.
それでその後、みんなで歩いて、石段のあたりで私たちみんな別れましたよね。高野さんたちは沢に行って、ケイちゃんはその場に残って、私は親類の人たちのところに行っちゃって。
ああ、それがどうした？
お互い質問の返し合いになっちゃうと拉致が開かないんで、私からまず質問します。いいですか？
ゆうべ、富武さんと高野さんに会いませんでしたか？
はい。あの後、あの二人には会いましたか？
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised. This is the third time I'd been asked this question today. Well, this one's a little bit more specific here. And this is with our partner in crime. Why? What the hell was going on?
どうしてだよ。だからどうしてそれを俺に聞くんだよ。
ほら、ケイちゃん、質問は私からのはずです。答えてください。
シオンはあったのか？シオンが先に答えたら俺も答える。
My shabby response betrayed how scared and small I felt now. After everything that happened today. Shion didn't say anything for a few moments. Just as I was beginning to think I'd really put my foot in my mouth with that response, she finally answered me.
もちろん会ってません。一緒にいた親類が証明できます。
俺だって会ってない。証明って言うならミオンとかレナとかみんながしてくれる。
Now that we knew our answers matched, she let out a sigh that sounded more relieved than anything else.
正直に答えてくれてじゃあ
Oh, my bad.
言いますね。
Oh, here we go. I mean, I already know. We already
ゆうべ
know.
高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。
ごめん、シオン。今、なんて言った？
ゆうべ高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。高野さんは焼死体で、
Oh.
富武さんは自殺みたいな感じで。
Wait. So with Takano, was that the same situation that happened in Chapter 1? Didn't she just disappear? So this is different.
今朝知ったんです。お父さん
Correct me
が
if I'm wrong, of
人類の
course.
人からの電話で話してるのを聞いて。
Late last night, a police car on its way back from the festival security duty had discovered Tomitake-san lying in the middle of the road heading towards Okonomiya. He had clawed out his throat and died. Alright, well that's pretty consistent with Chapter 1, as far as I can tell.
なんだよ。喉をかきむしっての自殺って。あの明るそうな富武さんが自殺？何かの間違いだろ？
警察がちゃんと検視したんです。自分の爪でガリガリと喉をかきむしって血管を破いて血をドバドバ出して自分の血で溺れ死んだんだって。
そんなバカな自殺、自分の喉をかき破るなんておかしすぎる。
I realized I was yelling too loudly, so I lowered the force I was putting into my voice. Yeah, our parents are really gonna ask some questions. I didn't want my parents to hear me, so I switched to the cordless phone and ran up to my own room.
大声出してごめん。で、高野さんも自殺なのか？
高野さんは自殺かどうかちょっと。
Takano-san's body was found in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture. Employees at the rest stop nearby reported to the police late that night, that they could see flames in the mountains. The firefighters dispatched there were the first ones to find her. An autopsy concluded that it was the burned corpse of a half-naked female. They initially considered the body beyond recognition, but directly after there was a request for a dental comparison from the whatever prefectural police station in Okonomiya, and the results concluded that it was Mio Takano. The cause of death wasn't confirmed, but it was highly likely to have been a homicide, since she was in her undergarments, and her clothes were nowhere in the area.
灯油管が転がってたそうなんで、焼身自殺の線もあるそうです。
自殺なわけあるものか。同じ死ぬならもっと楽な方法がいくらでもあるだろう。こんなの絶対に自殺なものか。
私だってそう思ってます。富武さんのだって自殺だなんて考えられない。
After the two of us rattled on at each other, there was a silence as we paused to catch our breaths. And as we calmed our nerves, right then I understood what Shion's story actually meant.
お社様のたたりってことになると思います。私たちたたられるのに十分な資格がありますから。
資格って冗談じゃないぞ。別に俺は。
Shion wanted to see it with me. I just went along with her. I tried to say that, but I fell silent. Nothing would come of me blaming others. It didn't matter how much everyone else encouraged me. I could have put my foot down. I lost to my own half-assed sense of adventure and agreed to go in with them. Yes, it was my fault and no one else's.
シオン、お前は昨夜細工殿の中に忍び込んだらこうなるかもしれないと予想はついてたのか？
Yes, I thought it would be a funny way to go out.
まさか。そりゃ多少はヤバいとは思いましたけど、こんなことになるなんて夢にも思いませんでした。
Shion's words were probably her true feelings. She knew she could get in trouble if we were caught, but that was the thrill of this little adventure. It was the same for me.
それよりもケイちゃん、ちょっとよく考えてください。 今年のお社様のたたりはおかしくないですか?
Yeah, instead of a disappearance, there's just a woman on fire. Did somebody else disappear in her place then? This, her being on fire could be something that was done by man. Well, I guess a lot of this could be seen as done by man, but the curse could be seen as being put on Tomitake-san. And then, who's disappearing? Who's doing the disappearing act this year? It was already plenty strange seeing how Tomitake-san and Takano-san died like that. Given all that, what could possibly be stranger?
死体が2つ見つかったってことです。言いましたよね。例年は1人が死んで1人が消えるんです。
Oh, they found 2 corpses because it's Chapter 2. I'll shut up now.
2人の死亡が確認されたのは今年が初めてです。
確かにそうかもしれないけど、そんなのは大した問題じゃないだろう。
いいえ、ケイちゃん、もっと真剣に考えてください。いいですか？2人の死がお社様のたたりということになってるなら、お社様の怒りを鎮めるための生贄もまた2人分必要なはずなんです。
Well, Shion, it's been a fun-ass ride.
そういう理屈になるのか？じゃあなんだよ。富武さんと高野さんが死んだ陰で、今年は2人が行方不明になってるってのか？
I don't understand why, but when I said that, I felt my spine freeze.
まだ誰も行方不明になってないと思います。多分2人が失踪するのはこれからじゃないかと思うんです。
Okay, well, fuck me. I was about to, not necessarily predict, but I would have said what I would have done in this situation. My ass would have gone up to Mion because, well, one, I have guilt, and I'm sure Keiichi does too, but I probably have more guilt than he does, and there's no way I can lie like how he has been. And I would have admitted everything. Like, I would have gotten on my hands, knees, fucking forehead to the ground, maybe even further, like dig a little hole so my forehead can kind of just like stick in there. And I would have just apologized my ass off. However, this kind of changes things. Sure, you can admit and maybe get forgiven over time. But this place is fucking weird. So are we going to quote-unquote disappear because of what we did if we admit to it? Shion, like me, was obviously getting the same feeling crawling down her back.
これから2人が失踪する。
Shion didn't answer. I couldn't say any more than that either. A chill crept in through my clothes and tried to wrap into a fist around my heart, cold hands feeling about on my chest. Neither of us could say anything. Tomitake-san opened the lock and he died. Takano-san exposed the ritual storehouse and she died. If 2 more people were to be sacrificed, it's gonna be us. Then they would be none other than the ones who entered with them. None other than us.
まさか冗談だろ。
I wanted so much for her to pass this off as a joke even now. That, though, was such an incredibly difficult and selfish request. If Tomitake-san and Takano-san had died in a common way like a car accident, I could tell myself it was a coincidence. Instead, he clawed out his own throat and she burned to death, drowned in oil, in the mountains. The 2 deaths were so out of the ordinary that I couldn't possibly dismiss it as mere coincidence. It was as if in exchange for sneaking into the ritual storehouse, there must be someone punishing us, some sort of cruel will working behind the scenes. And his name's Oyashiro-sama. Even so, I still didn't want to accept that terrifying truth. If I did, then I would have to acknowledge that a horrible crisis was growing near for Shion and I. And that's why I argued against it. I argued knowing I was running away. Damn, we're gonna die.
大地、そんなの新聞に出てないぞ。そんなに奇怪な事件なら絶対に新聞やテレビで報道するはずだろう。雑誌記者とかだって面白がって大勢来るに決まってる。
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
When the incidents occurred for the 3rd year in a row, there were some third-rate magazines that sniffed out the story and ran issues full of gossip columns about Hinamizawa. Fearing that the region would develop a negative stigma, they negotiated with the prefecture and the police. Since last year, it became a big conspiracy, where no information about the incidents was allowed to be leaked to the media.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが 警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
じゃあつまり二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
そういうことです。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので、捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
This story was unbelievable. People died, and yet they don't publicize it and deal with everything in secret.
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないということです。
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。つまりそういうことなんです。このHinamizawaでは毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
What the fuck? When someone dies on the night of the Watanagashi, it turns into the curse of a Yashiro-sama. The curse turns into the serial murder incidents. In order to avoid exasperating the negative stigma surrounding Hinamizawa, those incidents are dealt with in secret.
バカな！毎年死者と行方不明者が出るんだろ。いくらマイナスイメージって言ったって警察にも限度があるだろう。
毎年の事件が不可解って言うなら警察も本腰を入れられるんでしょうけど、何しろ毎年の事件は個別に解決してますので連続事件という形にならないんですよ。たまたま毎年綿流しの晩に不幸なことが起こる、それだけのことに。
Most of the criminals responsible for the original dismemberment were arrested. The last one managed to get and stay away, but the events were totally exposed and elucidated? Yeah. So it was, in essence, resolved. The dam supporting couple who died in an accident on the second year now was an accidental death, plain and simple. They made a lot of investigations into the possibility of it having been a homicide, but they didn't turn up anything. It ended up as an accident. It was resolved. On the third year, the priest fell ill and passed away. There were doctors present at the hospital at his deathbed, and they all had trustworthy medical certificates. They even did an autopsy. It concluded that it wasn't a homicide. And that was resolved too. On the fourth year, the sister-in-law of the dam supporting couple was murdered. The criminal was an abnormal man with a history of regular, excuse me usage? I don't know what the fuck that was. He confessed that he thought Yashiro-sama's curse was so interesting he wanted to try it out. What the fuck? The criminal died of an accident while imprisoned, so this incident was essentially resolved as well. That's right. None of the incidents had any relation to another, and each was independently resolved, excuse me.
なのになぜか毎年綿流しの晩に不幸な偶然が起こる。連続事件にしたくても連続にならないんです。それでも毎年必ず誰かが死んで誰かが消えていく。
The story Takano-san told me on the day before during the setup, and now that the curse really had occurred this year, I couldn't just laugh it off.
じゃあ俺たちも狙われるっていうのか。毎年一人死ぬと一人が消えるように富武さんや高野さんの道連れに消えさせられるっていうのかよ。
Excuse me. I was trying to get some, actually, what am I drinking? Ah, yes, sport drink. That's literally what it's called. My lips had at some point become completely dry, and just saying that was difficult. Shion didn't respond. Her silence, however, was the clearest form of confirmation she could give me.
俺たちそれは確かに入っちゃいけないところだったかもしれないが、見ただけだぜ。何かを盗んだり持ち出したり、見たことを誰かに喋ったわけじゃないんだぜ。
I was already regretting having committed such a wrong. Even so, was it really so bad that Tomitake-san and Takano-san deserved such cruel deaths?
第一、俺はあんなの見ても全然面白くなかったし、高野さんが見て一人で大喜びしてただけだろ。悪いのは高野さんだけだよ。俺は全然関係ないぜ。興味もないし関係ないし、あの中にあったものだって知ったことじゃない。
Damn, Keiichi is like super irrational when it comes to this. I knew saying so wouldn't solve anything. I could feel myself, my cold self, in the innermost depths of my heart, disgusted at my pointless howling. However, my emotions had broken through the dam, and I couldn't stop them anymore.
俺はもともと興味なんか全然なかったんだ。リカちゃんの演舞を見ていたかっただけなんだ。それをシオンが勝手に連れ出したんじゃないか。
Let's not blame her.
あの二人が泥棒しようが何しようが知ったことじゃない。そうだよ。そもそもシオンが中に入ろうって言い出したんだ。ケイちゃんは見ておく必要があるとかなんとか思わせぶりなことを言って中に引き込んだんだ。どうしてくれるんだよ。俺は全然関係ないんだぞ。どうすんだよ。どうすんだよ。どうやって責任を取ってくれるんだよ。おい、聞いて。
Wait, what happened? Oh. Without any warning, the phone cut off with the soft sound of receiver being slammed down. Shion was just as terrified as I was, and I just said some really self-centered things. My riled up emotions disappeared as if they'd never existed, and in their place surged waves of deep regret as having run my mouth so irresponsibly. I am so sorry, I started dying. I could try to call out Shion's name from beyond the disconnected phone, but it was too late. What have I done? Shion was only trying to tell me as much as she could about this thing about to descend upon us. As for me, I could only whine like a child about it. I went to call her back, but then remembered she lived in Okonomiya. I didn't know her phone number. Since I had declared to Mion that I hadn't seen Shion last night, I couldn't just call Mion and ask for Shion's phone number. I was too scared. I couldn't even call her back. I was stricken with hopeless regret. I returned the receiver to its stand, and I simply prayed that Shion would call me back again. Please, Shion. Calm down and call me again. Oh, we're getting a call from somebody.
もしもし、前原です。
I swept up the receiver as though it wouldn't go through if I didn't grab it at that exact moment. I don't think it's Shion that's calling us.
前原さんのお宅でしょうか。
It is not.
夜分遅くに失礼いたします。君吉と申します。ご主人様でいらっしゃいますか？
It was the voice of a girl who clearly wasn't Shion. All my hopes rushed out of me.
いえ、違いますけど、親父に用なら呼んできます。
I went to put the receiver back down, but the caller stopped me hurriedly.
お忙しければ結構なんです。実は恐縮なんですが、うちのおじいちゃんがお邪魔してませんでしょうか。
Huh?
いえ、誰も来てませんけど。
そうですか。夜分遅くに申し訳ありませんでした。失礼いたします。
I don't know who that was, but what if Shion tried to call me while I was on the phone? I thought, bubbling with egotistic anger. Hey, wait. Give it a break, Keiichi Maibara. These are the selfish emotions that made Shion mad at me, aren't they? The more I thought about it, though, the more I thought about Shion, or thought that Shion had given up hope in the short time since we had our conversation and didn't want to call anymore. Calm yourself, Keiichi Maibara. If Shion does call again, then first apologize in a calm voice. If you do that, then Shion should understand. However, no matter how long I waited, the phone didn't ring again that night. Wait, somebody was supposed to be visiting us? Somebody's old man? Why are we ignoring this, Keiichi? That seems important. Go back. Go back a few lines, Keiichi. I think you need to look back on the dialogue. So we have a couple scrapbook notes and late night phone call. And close calls was the achievement that we got. We will look at the tips and then we will call it an episode here. So this is part 6 of From the Scrapbooks. The significance of Watanagashi. Watanagashi, a festival of hunting for sacrifices and feasting on them. Excuse me. While the festival itself is remarkable, it has come to be considered a form of entertainment as well. Perhaps it was because of the disparity between being both an egregious act and a form of entertainment that the perpetrators began to believe themselves transcendent. However, I found some very interesting literature that appears to raise questions about that explanation. As with most oral traditions, it's not easily swallowed, but it does mention a few things that sparked my interest. According to this literature, even the residents of Watanagashi village felt fear towards this ritual. Women and children would grow pale and tremble, and those of weak constitution would vomit, but it said that the feast, the dissection, was an obligatory viewing. This is an extremely curious tale. Until now, I thought that the residents of Watanagashi village were fascinated by the Watanagashi ritual. I almost went back to my old ways. They looked down on those vulgar, barbaric humans, cut them open like fish. By eating them, they reaffirmed their own holiness. At least that's what I thought. However, if what the villagers gained from this ritual was not fascination, but fear, then that would suggest the ritual meant something entirely different. There's the possibility that the executions were meant as warnings, encouraging the villagers to strictly follow religious precepts created by those with power for their own convenience. Watanagashi village has been effectively ruled over by three old families called the Three Families. Without investigating the three families, I probably won't get any closer to the truth of Watanagashi village. Interesting. I take it this is still all the shit that What's-Her-Face was writing down. You know, at one point, obviously these aren't updated now. So what's going on in this part? Is it about the families? Yep. The Three Families refers to the three old families who effectively came to rule Watanagashi village. To break it down, there was the Kimiyoshi family, the Furude family, and the Sonozaki family, and each of them still exists today. Okay, well that seems very important. Obviously we know the Furude and Sonozaki families, or at least we know, individuals from the families. Rika-chan, and then you've got Mion and Shion from Sonozaki. Kimiyoshi, however, that's a new one. Though they don't have much control, or as much control as they did in the remote past, they still hold considerable influence today. The three families are considered by legend to be those in whom the blood of the swamp demons runs the thickest. The Kimiyoshi family. The Kimiyoshi family appears to have held great power as the head of the three families, but it doesn't have that kind of leadership today. The current mayor of the village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi, is from this family, and the fact that members of the Kimiyoshi family are elected as mayor every generation is thought to be a remnant of the old system. Of course, as no rival candidates appear, it doesn't change the fact that the Kimiyoshi family holds the mayoral office even through popular elections in the post-war era. Alright, so the Furude family, the center of the village's faith since ancient times, the Furude clan has guarded the soul shrine dedicated to Yashiro-sama. They were worshipped as the only people to represent the voice of Yashiro-sama for a long time, but that family branched off after the war and lost most of its power. It now consists of only the main house. The main house, as well, presently consists of only one daughter, Rika Furude, and we know her, or at least goddamn I hope. So the lineage may end in this generation. There is apparently an old tradition of honoring females of the Furude family, so the only daughter Rika is the subject of much respect among the elderly of the village. The Sonozaki family. It's said that this family had a certain police-like role of protecting the religious precepts of Watanagashi village. Of the three families, their relatively weak position can be seen from me putting them here last. Of course, today, the Sonozaki family is flourishing, and the state of affairs among the three families has completely reversed. Even now, one could say that they are in control of Hinamizawa. The three families conferring with each other is similar to the old way. The current head of the Sonozaki family, I have no idea how to properly pronounce that name, so I'm not even going to try, essentially decides all of the goings-on in the village by herself. Okay, that's interesting. I'm very curious about somebody from that first family calling, Kimiyoshi. That is very concerning to me. I don't know why. I'm just kind of worried now. Late night phone call. What's this about?
夜分遅くに失礼いたします。君吉と申しますが、 ご主人でいらっしゃいますか。はい。いえいえ、その説は本当にありがとうございます。それでですね、こんな時間に大変恐縮なのですが、うちのおじいちゃんがお邪魔してないかと思いまして。
Huh?
ですよね。はい。こんな時間に申し訳ありませんでした。それでは失礼いたします。ごめんください。
どうだい？ダメ？
参ったな。どんなに熱中しても電話くらいはしてくれる人なんだけれどな。
囲碁の人の家は全部電話したんでしょ？
はい、君吉です。
園崎です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？
ああ、ミオンちゃんか。片っ端から電話をかけてみたけどダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油を売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。ばっちゃんにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうということです。
こんな時間にかい。それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことです。それでも見つからないなら、明朝警察に通報しましょう。見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お嬢さんがそう言ったのかい。
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
いえ、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょう。それで見つからなければ翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということでそちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
ええ、では。
So that's what's going on. That is, indeed concerning. I had every right to be concerned there. The mayor has quote-unquote gone missing. Or maybe it's too early to say that. I don't fucking know. Very, very interesting. Alrighty, we'll, get into this next episode here. Or section, chapter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And we will save the game right here. Thank you all for watching this, longer episode than I've been recording. I think I'm gonna have to increase episode lengths. Maybe. It's just kind of difficult for me to do so. Because I know that if I do that, I'm probably gonna have to do that going forward. And then I plan on doing Chaos Head with long episode lengths. And just fuck me, man. Fuck me and my inability to read fast. And also just how I, pick long visual novels, I guess. But anyways, enough about that. Thank you all for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.